This is the second chapter of 4 of a year-long exhibition that looks at a century of Arab art, taking the Barjeel Art Foundation's collection in Sharjah as a starting point to think about what was Arab modernism and what is contemporary Arab art. Debating Modernism Part 2 seeks to look at figurative and abstract works produced over a 20-year period from 1967 to 1987. There are a number of themes that I suppose underpin the second chapter of the Barjeel exhibition at the Whitechapel Gallery. One of them is very much related to the idea of text and how artists were using poetry as the starting point to think about representations of landscape, the body, and then abstracted those forms into different kinds of formations. Another theme was how artists were looking at tradition, particularly tradition tied to religion, Islamic tradition or Christian iconography, and sought to abstract or pull that away from its original context into different kinds of formal examination. One of the subjects that has occupied many of the artists of the Arab world is the Palestinian condition, and certainly after the Arab-Israeli war, the conditions and context in which Palestinian youth lived was of key interest to many a figure. The painting behind me is by a Syrian artist called Marwan. What we are looking at here is a series of young men who are in a state of potential trauma. He plays with our perspective, trying to encourage us to question whether we are looking at the subject or being looked at by them. So what we see here is a play of Islamic text that has been transformed into these silk screens and abstracted by the artist Kamal Bullata, and each occupies or embodies a different kind of meaning. The piece, Erotic Composition, is a study where the artist is using her own body as a kind of examination point where she is trying to look at how she will choose to represent herself. Next to it is a piece called City 2, where she creates a series of floating icons, bodies and buildings floating into landscape. Kalan's work was about how we locate the female form, the female body in context, in situ, in environment. What I hope audiences are able to take away from this exhibition is really a sense of how artists of the Arab world were really looking back at tradition, abstracting it from its original context, turning it into landscapes, into bodies, and back into text. This exhibition is where we can look at and spend time with some of the great modern masters of the Arab world.